Hey kids, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. Got another mixing video for you today. This tip is going to help you get your tracks to sit in the mix perfectly, and that's pretty much what we're struggling to do as mixers. It's called the attack principle, and it could possibly change your life. I got to give credit to Kevin Ward, awesome mixer from Nashville, runs mixcoach.com. I learned this trick from him, and I've been using it in mixes ever since, and it totally is a helpful tool to getting things to sit perfectly. So check him out at mixcoach.com. Check out his videos on YouTube. Awesome dude. Okay, here's the idea. Usually when you can't hear a part, you turn it up, right? Okay, so that guitar is a little too quiet, let me turn it up, or the vocal's too quiet, I'm going to turn it up. But the problem is we're just turning up extra frequencies we don't need, and really you're just reducing your headroom, and you can't just keep turning every track up when you can't hear it. That's why we grab things like EQs, right, to help turn up only the frequencies we need. Well, this principle is going to help you take it a step further when EQ is not enough. The idea is we don't need to just turn up a track more in order to hear it. All we as humans need to do is to perceive the initial attack. If we perceive the initial part of the waveform, the beginning of a strum of a guitar, the first consonant of a word or a phrase that the singer's delivering, as long as we perceive that and that's loud enough, the human ear will know that it's there and be on the lookout for it, and will see it in their mind's eye in the mix perfectly. So what we have to do is trick the ear using automation in your DAW, okay? Let me give you an example. Here's a mix where I've got a chorus happening, and this yellow track that's about to come up is a little post-guitar riff that's happening. It's not the most prominent thing, but it's a nice little piece of ear candy that comes in, and I think it's a little too quiet.
He is my strength, he sets my feet on high places, and the Lord will deliver his own in the fall.
All right, that part right there. You probably didn't even really hear it. But I mean, you know it's there now, but you knew it was coming visually. You didn't really know what to listen for. It sounds a little buried, but it's actually at a pretty good volume relative to everything else. But the problem is that no one knows that it came in. So typically what you would do is just say, well, turn the darn thing up. So we would automate it, grab it and say, all right, turn it up. Let's give it a shot.
He sets my feet on high places, and the Lord will deliver his own.
Now, this is subjective, but honestly, guys, that's too loud for me. It settles into a volume where I'm like, okay, that's great, that's a cool part. And you know, you and I as mixers listening for this, we want to hear it, but the listener needs to hear the vocal, and it's too dominating. So what do I find? A happy medium in between where there's a perfect volume level? The problem is there isn't always a perfect volume level. And instead of being frustrated, all we have to do is make sure that we hear the attack. So if I zoom in and just grab the first little pluck or two, I can turn that up. Then I can just kind of slope it down a little bit so it's not a drastic change, right? We can give that a shot.
He is my strength, he sets my feet on high places, and the Lord will deliver his own.
I don't know if you caught that. Our ears are already looking for it, so it's a little easier for us to hear it, but that initial pluck jumps out beautifully, especially if I make sure that it's completely as loud as it could be right there. And then the rest of it, you perceive it in the mix, even though it's the same low volume that it was before. Listen again.
He is my strength, he sets my feet on high places, and the Lord will deliver his own.
That is the attack principle right there, tricking the ear into hearing a part that is a little quieter than you think you would want it. And then they will hear it the rest of the time. Maybe you do it the same thing here on the attack on the repeat, but that's all you need to turn up, saving you from pushing it up too loud and fighting with all the other tracks. Let me give you another example on a vocal. The same thing happens right here on his vocal. I think he sings the second line, and it's hard to hear one of his words.
In the fullness of time, he will come.
All right, he will come, right? You can hear it fine here.
He will come.
And if you've done any mixing for any length of time, you've probably gotten used to riding the lead vocal and automating it. And that's what I've done with a fader. But all I have to do to make sure I can hear that word here
In the fullness of time, he will.
is simply just turn up the beginning of the word.
In the fullness of time, he will come.
See that? All I need to do is hear the here. Then my ear knows, oh, there's a word there.
In the fullness of time, he will come.
And you can adjust it to taste. Now, keep in mind we have these visual cues, so you would want to close your eyes or flip it over the mix view or whatever, but that's all you have to do to make sure things sit perfectly in the mix. Is if they're a little too buried, but you think the volume is pretty much where it should be, just ride the attack. The ear will be tricked into knowing it's there the whole time. This is especially helpful if you have a client that gives you a note that says, hey, the vocal is not loud enough in this part. It may be that the vocal's perfectly fine, but you just need to crank up the attack on one or two of those lines, and then your client will hear it perfectly and perceive it, and they'll think it's the perfect volume, even though the rest of the track is the exact same volume. That's how good it works. So try it on your next mix. It's called the attack principle. Hope it helps you guys. Again, this is Graham here at therecordingrevolution.com. Have a great day.